Okay, I'm live. All right, guys. I was not planning to do this episode, but let's go. Here we go. So today, this was actually prompted just now by an experience. I was belonged to a certain group of people of expats, and somebody posted something that really got to my heart, and he's trying to pull some people out, his grandchild, his granddaughter, to live with him, and she's 14 years old. And he feels like it's a very bad situation at home, and he just feels like there's something he must do, but he feels powerless living abroad. So most of us, generally speaking, are expats. We do have places where we live outside of where we have lived in the past. So we live in different areas, if that makes sense. So he wants to help bring his daughter in with through homeschooling. I want to tell you something before we move forward, okay? A bit about me. Now, I too was a runaway. I ran away from home a lot of times. I've shared with you kind of some of the toxic situations that had happened inside of my house, and it wasn't pleasant to say the least. It was actually terrible, terrible. My mom would drive me after work to another friend's house, or I would end up moving out of the house and staying with a friend from college just so I could avoid being at home. Sometimes it would even get so graphic because I talk about this often, even in my book, that I had a dad whose anger was scary and just didn't want to be around him. Sometimes I would even lock myself in the room, and to make sure he wasn't coming, or if I heard him coming, I didn't know what kind of situation I would encounter. So I wouldn't even leave my room to go to the bathroom. I was just so scared. I would rather just not be seen. I would just like even use the bathroom somewhere else, you know? And so this is the truth of the matter of a lot of things. In certain situations, and a lot of them, we have to address the runaways, the teenagers, the adults. Now, a lot of times people come and say, well, she's got two parents, which, I mean, her dad always pays her rent. Just because that happens, it doesn't mean that the situation is not dysfunctional. Okay. This means, like, a lot of times, if somebody's running away, whether it be a dog or a cat or a human being, a teenager or a child, it's not just because the got left and the child was just so wild. If there was so much love in the home, there would be no reason a child would need to feel unloved. There's no reason that that needs to happen. So when you do run across runaways, the first thing you need to do is believe them. Just believe that they are not in a good situation and they need to get out. So the first thing is believe them. The second thing is listen. Listen to what it is that they're going through with a careful ear. Listen to the problems that they have, listen to their feelings, listen. Listen to some of the stories that they have to tell. And the next thing is, as you're listening, just don't say much back. A lot of times we can end up scarring people a lot more with what we think is helpful feedback. Helpful feedback is not, yeah, well, I mean, did you do anything? I mean, well, you don't know how hard it is to be a parent. How hard it is to be a parent or not, maybe they're not telling you the entire situation. Maybe they are a teenager and it's just very self absorbed. But the truth is, there is no situation that a teenager or a 7-year old or 3-year old could do to make a parent react like this, or their foster parent, or there's nothing that any child could do to cause this situation to to be worse than it needs to be. So I'm here to speak out. I do believe that everything needs to change. Everything needs to change. Our education needs to change. Things have to change. So I'm going to go back to the situation with Ken. I'm going to read to you what he shared because of what happened. And this evoked a lot of emotion from me because, I mean, how many times have we been called to help someone in situations where we ourselves have been in? That chokes us up. So he comes out asking if there are any sort of homeschooling resources or teachers or groups in the area that we live in English. So he wanted again to bring his 14-year-old daughter to live with him in this town, but he needed to continue her education, but she currently doesn't speak Spanish. He needs to rescue her he says, I need to rescue her from a very dysfunctional home situation. I can teach her most anything, but it's always better with another person. One or more teachers that can come to his house and a group of other people who are doing the same thing with their children. Her language skills are a big hurdle. I'm trying to solve a difficult situation, but I don't live in the US full time anymore, and any suggestions are very, very, very much appreciated. It's distressing to see her situation and to feel powerless from a distance. So he has a picture of her and her purple hair and her burning a rose and smiling at it with a Kiss shirt on. And so the first thing I'm seeing is, oh my gosh, it's breaking my heart just to see that. She's really clearly tormented. But I mean, she just looks like a 14-year-old teenager who needs to be heard. And so to this, I want to speak to you, okay? I want to know, especially for a lot of us, we need to come together and see how we can help, right? Because this is something that I personally do. I specialize in helping teens and who just need someone to listen to. And so I've taught a lot. I think you guys have maybe heard some of the stories, maybe not, I don't know. But I specialize in teaching. I first started teaching in Phoenix, Arizona at this place called South Point High School. And I noticed a lot of them just needed someone to listen to them. And then I taught in Ghana, West Africa, 6th grade. And these were high school students I was teaching. They were seniors in Phoenix, Arizona. And then I taught in Thailand. I taught in Vietnam. And not even just teenagers, to be honest. I really like working with adults and teenagers, and really like adults and couples. And so it's not something where it's just like gone over my head. This is important to me, and so yes, I also have a nonprofit, and I help specialize in these things and teaching people critical skills. And so this is so important to me that we must come together and start this band. As you guys know, if I've shared with you along the journey, I haven't just made recommendations and don't go about them. Like, that's not how this works. I actually, I've traveled the world, and I do know that language skills, especially for parents, this is so important not to just keep to yourself and do nothing. This is really important to go out into the world, not just sit inside of a classroom. I don't believe in traditional education. I think if you are pulling your child out, and most of you all are with me on this bandwagon, that some things do need to be transformed, including the educational system. So I don't believe in that. So I do believe in traveling. I do believe in keeping a worldwide education and focusing on critical skills and listening. Like, this is one of the most important things that a lot of times that's been robbed out of our education. Sit down, Johnny, I'm talking, and a lot of times, even in northern Thailand where I taught, it was really hard because, how do I say this? And southern Thailand, I mean, all of Thailand, really, the little children would do something and they would get whacked or caned. This happened in Africa too. And It's not really how you're going to get a child to listen, really. There does need to be one line that needs to be said and then not again. And then all you need to do is just talk to them. Don't do that, please, instead of no, right? They'll listen. So it's important that we focus on these things and focus on our children. They're running away from school or they're using schools as a place to run away to. But if we're bombarding them and we're hurting them, how can they trust us? And then thinking that we can help them and just giving them more disciplinary situations is not helping anyone. It really doesn't help anyone. So this is the issue, guys. This is how we need to come together and build with other people, start networking with other things, um, organizations, friends, partnerships, and doing something outside of it. Now, it's also been given prophetic words that there's going to be certain forms of education that are going to be better or more beneficial. Most people are really like investing more in things like co-ops as opposed to universities. So let's get started. Let's get on this bandwagon. Let's start moving and helping people. And not just in education. I'm using education because most children run from their homes to it. This is a place where we all have to go. If you're not being homeschooled, thank God she's not in that situation. But somebody who had to run away from my home a lot, I used school as an escape. And usually it's the kids who are talking too much, who are doing a lot of stuff that need the hugs, those that need the love. So adult runaways, I'm not necessarily talking about drug addicts and stuff like that. We can get into that. That's a whole nother ball game. And for that, we have amazing tools, especially deliverance. That helps a lot. Because a lot of times people are wrestling with demons, but a lot of times we can't help. We don't even know what the situation is. We just know it's so bad, it's traumatic, and things like that. I don't mean to say things like that, but if I went into it, it would just be like heartbreaking. So I want to read to you some of the comments that people said. And one girl was just, she hit the nail on the head. She just said, as a child of trauma and abuse, thank you for stepping in. This guy is really awesome. I mean, this just lit the fire for my day. I was so emotional. Just like, oh my gosh, yes. Like, really happy to learn about that. So, this is really important. We want to move forward and helping advance people, advance society, advance everything that we possibly can, and by advancing our future. And if we don't invest in children, especially the ones that are runaways, the ones that are like need love but are being rejected of it, that's where we need to like put a lot of our we need to sow seeds in this area. We need to remove these roots of rejection and really feel and pour into them. So this is just, it's just one component, but this is really what's going to help is giving them a platform in which they can be themselves without the demonic influence. And when I say demonic, I made a video about that. It's called Explaining Demonic Relationships to Myself. So her burning the flower, like this thing of love, the darkness of the kiss. I mean, I probably would not have understood much about music and rock music and how that's demonic, but really it's not love and light. So without all of the filters of the world, being able to have children in a space where we can just really pour into them and nurture them is one of the most important things that we can do. If you guys have any comments or recommendations on how we can love runaways, on how we can support them, on what things that we can do aside from getting them out of shelters, a lot of times they will run to shelters, and that's where more problems come, right? Other people who really didn't have that many options are going to come and start looking for people to start attacking. Just like my heart goes out to that. They're going to look for someone to introduce drugs to them. And sometimes, yeah, this happens inside of schools, unfortunately. So we want to keep that balance of trust with runaways. And we also want to give them a sense of belonging. So when people feel like they belong, they're not going to feel like they're going to run. they're going to just feel so happy to come back to a space where they are loved and accepted. So I thank you guys for listening today. Yeah, I just am so happy to be able to offer this story to you. Very, very, very like touching to see that. So to you, Ken, I wish you nothing but the best. I want to share with you that you're doing such awesome things, and you do understand somebody from the outside is amazing. With this, I recommend maybe some support, some friendship, some older women, and some peers that are going to help your granddaughter feel a little bit more accepted. The good thing is she can start over, so I'm so happy about that because I mean, most of us as expats and people who nomad and move by the Spirit of God or just want to get new soil, we really appreciate that fresh start. So by equipping her with many tools, we can help her. And I understand in this situation, she's not necessarily a runaway, but the situation itself, we already know it's not good. And for somebody who's been through that myself, I can already just see everything that's going on without even needing to say more. All right. God bless you. Take care. Goodbye.